What is the absolute #1 non-negotiable rule of being a high-ranking mafia fugitive on the run from Interpol? It is actually remarkably simple. Do not start a cooking channel. Seriously, if you are dodging a life sentence for international narcotics trafficking, maybe, just maybe, don't upload high-definition footage of your life to the most popular video platform on the planet. Welcome to the strangely salty and incredibly public downfall of Marc Feren Claude Biart. This wasn't some petty thief who forgot to hide his face during a convenience store heist. Marc was a heavy hitter for the Caciola clan of the Ndrangheta, the most powerful, secretive, and dangerous criminal organization in Italy and arguably the world. Marc managed to vanish into thin air for 7 long years, successfully hiding in the Caribbean sun while the most elite task forces in Europe scratched their heads in frustration. He had won the game. He was a ghost. He was free. But then, Marc decided he didn't just want to be a criminal, he wanted to be a star. He wanted the world to see his zest for life and his undeniable talent for rigatoni. In the end, most YouTubers are desperate for a silver play button, but Marc Feren Claude Biart is the only one who traded his entire life for a pair of silver handcuffs. This is the story of how a mobster's ego, a pot of boiling water, and a very specific set of tattoos turned a master of evasion into a master of disaster. A ghost in paradise. To truly appreciate how someone this high level ends up making a mistake this low IQ, we have to look at the massive stakes involved in his disappearance. We aren't talking about a guy who skipped out on a bar fine. Marc Feren Claude Biart was a key player in a global cocaine trafficking ring that moved weight across oceans. The Ndrangheta syndicate makes the fictional Sopranos look like a polite Sunday school. They control the vast majority of the cocaine entering Europe, and Marc was right in the thick of the logistics. In 2014, an Italian court finally gathered enough evidence to put him away for a very long time, and a warrant was issued for his arrest. Marc did what any professional would do. He vanished. He didn't just move to the next province, he crossed the Atlantic and landed in Boca Chica in the Dominican Republic. For 7 years, Marc lived the life that most people only see on postcards. He lived in a beautiful coastal town surrounded by turquoise water, palm trees, and white sand. He married a local woman, lived in a quiet neighborhood, and became a fixture of the community, but in the most boring way possible. He was known to his neighbors simply as the foreigner. He didn't drive flashy Ferraris, he didn't start any street brawls, and he didn't draw attention to himself. He was the invisible man. He had successfully retired from a life of crime at the age of 53, living in a tropical paradise while the Italian authorities were thousands of miles away staring at cold case files. He had beaten the system. He had won the ultimate game of hide-and-seek. But as it turns out, the quiet life has one major drawback for a narcissist. It is incredibly, painfully boring. The boredom of the run. You see, when you are a high-ranking member of a mafia clan, you are used to power, respect, and being someone. In Boca Chica, Marc was just another guy in a linen shirt buying pineapples. After 7 years of quiet sunsets, the itch for recognition started to burn. Most fugitives get caught because they call their mother on their birthday or they try to move a large sum of money through a flagged account. Not Marc. Marc's Achilles heel was his pride, specifically his pride in his culinary skills. He believed he was a master of Italian cuisine, and he couldn't stand the thought of all that talent going to waste in a kitchen with no audience. He and his wife came up with a plan that they thought was foolproof. They would start a YouTube channel. It would be a place where they could share their love for authentic Italian cooking with the world. Now, Marc wasn't a total idiot. He knew his face was on a most wanted list. He knew that facial recognition software was getting better every day. So he devised what he thought was a brilliant strategy. He would never show his face on camera. Every single video was carefully framed so that the camera only captured his torso, his hands, and the stove. He became a literal headless chef. He thought he was being clever, a mysterious, anonymous gourmand sharing the secrets of the old country. He thought he was the masked chef of the underworld. But Marc made one catastrophic, permanent, and incredibly distinct mistake. He forgot about his skin. Chef Biart goes viral for the wrong reasons. Marc's arms were not blank canvases. Like many members of the Ndrangheta, his body was a map of his life, his history, and his allegiances. He was covered in very specific, very intricate tattoos that were essentially a criminal resume written in ink. To a casual viewer in the Dominican Republic or a random subscriber in America, these were just tattoos, cool art on a guy who knew how to flip a frittata. But to the Polizia di Stato Italiana, these tattoos were as good as a fingerprint, a social security number, and a home address all rolled into one. The barcode of the underworld. Think about the level of confidence or pure delusion it takes to think that hiding your eyes is enough when your arms are literally branded with the marks of your crime family. The Italian authorities didn't need to see Marc smile. They recognized the artwork on his forearm like a barcode at a supermarket. They cross-referenced the ink with old booking photos and forensic data. It was a perfect match. It wasn't a maybe, it was a bingo. The task force didn't leave a dislike on his video. They didn't report him for copyright infringement. Instead, they used the digital footprint of the YouTube uploads to narrow down his exact location. They coordinated with Interpol and the Dominican Republic's local police. While Marc was likely planning his next big pasta special and checking his view counts, the walls were closing in. They didn't just find a fugitive, they found a man who literally broadcast his own location because he wanted strangers to tell him he was a good cook. It's the digital age equivalent of a bank robber leaving a trail of glitter from the vault all the way to his front door. From stove to cell. The end came quickly, and without any of the cinematic flair Marc probably imagined for himself. On a sunny Monday in March 2021, the YouTube chef wasn't prepping garlic or deglazing a pan. He was being intercepted by a team of officers in Boca Chica. He didn't go out in a blaze of glory like a movie mobster. He was quietly handcuffed and led away, likely still wearing his apron. The shock in the local community was massive. Neighbors who had known him for years as a quiet, nice foreigner were stunned to find out he was a high-level mafia operative responsible for flooding Europe with narcotics. But the real shock was for Marc. He had survived 7 years in the shadows, only to be taken down by a webcam and a desire for likes. He was extradited back to Italy immediately. When the plane touched down at Milan's Malpensa airport, he wasn't greeted by fans or culinary critics. He was met by a phalanx of police officers ready to escort him to a cell that definitely doesn't have a view of the Caribbean. He went from "subscribe and hit the bell" to "lock the door and throw away the key." A recipe for disaster. Marc Feren Claude Biart is now a cautionary tale for the modern era. He spent 7 years outsmarting the most sophisticated investigators in the world, only to be defeated by his own massive ego and a high-definition upload. He wanted to be a star, and in a way he finally made it. He became the star of one of the most embarrassing police reports in Italian history. He is now serving his time in an Italian prison, where the menu is presumably much less gourmet than what he was serving up on YouTube. No more fresh Caribbean seafood, no more artisanal pasta, and definitely no more The Masked Chef episodes. The moral of the story is as clear as a well-made broth. If you are a wanted fugitive with a life sentence hanging over your head, maybe stick to ordering takeout. Because in the world of high-stakes crime, if you can't stand the heat, you should stay out of the kitchen. And for the love of everything holy, stay off social media. Marc wanted the world to see his tattoos and his cooking. Now the only thing the world sees is a man who is too hungry for fame to stay free. That concludes our deep dive into the YouTube chef. If you enjoyed this story of culinary catastrophe, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Unlike Marc, we actually want you to find us. Join us for episode 5, where we'll meet Anthony Garcia, a man who was so proud of his crime that he decided to get the entire police report tattooed on his chest. You truly cannot make this stuff up. Until next time, keep your secrets close and your kitchen cameras off.